we are, guys, into the recruiting. So right now, I'm just going to show you this in this episode. So I'm looking at 3 quarterbacks: Kenneth Ruffin, Curtis Johnson, and Travis Ramsauer. Now, my favorite of these 3 is Kenneth Ruffin. Now, I'm going to show you basically why. They're all 3 pocket passers, but the passing, his throw power is already up there with an 89. His accuracy is an 80, which is the best of the 3. Now, you look at Curtis Johnson at 79 and 72, and Ramsauer is so close, just a little bit worse on the accuracy, but he makes up with it by a little bit more speed. And running backs, Josh Bailey is one of my favorites there, with the trucking, but not as elusive as Logan Mason is, but he's not as fast either. So you can see the spin move, juke, and elusiveness is a little bit better for my man Logan there. He's also a better overall rated halfback, 8 up by 36 positions. Now, fullback, we need 2. Trying to get both John Allen and Casey Smith. Casey Smith should be getting here shortly. I didn't get him after this week's game. I do hopefully get him next week. And now 2 receivers I'm looking at, Scott Love and Lauren Peoples. Like, most of my recruits here are 3-star prospects. Peoples here is a little bit better as a possession receiver, while Scott Love at 6'2" is a speed receiver with 93 speed. He's not elusive. He doesn't really have the greatest catching ability, but his returning ability and his route running, great. And both carrying for these 2 guys are great as well. So you can see a little bit of a more elusive player, though, for Peoples, even though he doesn't have the great ability to make you guys miss, as we're hoping. But hoping to bring those 2 guys in. I am leading in that, and I am also leading in every offensive lineman, both tackles and guards that I'm looking at right now in all those cases. Kevin Gates, I like mainly because he's not too slow. His blocking's almost there. He can kind of truck people. His catching is close, and he's 6'8". So, if it all played up to height, he would be great. 2-star prospect here, trying to beat Baylor out for him. Now, tackles, Benjamin Williams is my number 1 guy here I'm looking at, trying to beat Washington State. They're in 3 of my battles here. Brad Baker, also another guy. Guards, Jonathan McCoy and Joey Hayes. No centers. 2 D tackles or DNs. I need 1. I want Joe Bailey, but Charles Carter is the number 1 option right now. Have the bigger lead on him there. Now, he's a little bit slow. His acceleration's okay, but as you can see, we have more of a run stopper in Joe Bailey. And I believe I took away some points from Carter because I have a big lead over everyone there, and try to get a bigger lead over Rice and BYU for Joe Bailey. Now, I don't need I need DN, 2 fullbacks, 3 corners, and a strong safety. Those are the only positions, but I am looking at defensive tackle Matt Jones, Dan Muhammad, who's a nice coverage linebacker. I haven't scouted him fully yet, obviously, but he's a nice guy right there. Then at middle linebacker, I don't really need one, but a 3-star Cedric Stanley is a nice pickup here. Would be a nice pickup. Not the greatest coverage linebacker, but his acceleration is outstanding. His speed's not all the way there, but again, give him about a year and a half, maybe 2, and he could be an elite player for us. Then, really, I'm targeting right now 4 corners, and I lead in all of them. Greg Spurlock, Aaron Walker, Brandon Brown, and Casey Davis. Now, Spurlock, although he was a 3-star, he's also the worst of the 3. And I go over that. But being the worst of the 3, I don't really care if I get him on my team because he's slow at 84 overall speed. His coverage is pretty bad. And it's just not the greatest for me. So, I started going more towards Casey Davis, Brandon Brown, and Aaron Walker. Because, again, speed's up there with Brandon Brown. His coverage is not the greatest, but it can be worked on over a year. Aaron, same thing with Aaron Walker. Here you can look at how I do with Spurlock. And, it's not great. His man coverage went down. His speed's just terrible. And I don't believe, other than Casey Davis, who I had visiting this week against FIU, none of them have yet shown enough interest. Now, Barrett Smith is the only strong safety I've been looking at, but I do find 2 others because I don't like his stats. Slow, His acceleration and agility ain't terrible, but his coverage is bad. He wants to play. I don't think I would. I mean, at a 63 overall strong safety, granted our defense isn't doing well at all this season, but, I mean, come on. So I start looking at some strong safeties here, and I find two others. Kendall Raves is really... I try to find somebody who didn't want playing time as the big necessity. I mean, they all did, but it was only a C for these two guys here, and it was a closer battle as well. So I brought in Andrew Morgan and Stewart there for the big part. Now, that corners, I decided to try to find somebody else other than Spurlock. Granted, the only top 3 we have in there were those 4, so I granted out to the top 5, find Jason Patrick and Chad Benson, but they both wanted playing time, and they both did not really have coverage ability that I liked. So I decided just to stay with the 4 and then start working more on the other 3 corners even more, because I took away basically all but 5, I believe. Yeah, about 5 points from Spurlock. Gave it to the strong safeties. I think I ended up getting away from Andrew Morgan because it was such a far battle, but I believe I stayed with Stewart here. Now, to end this, we lost Josh Bailey to Washington State. Logan Mason is still there, and we're having a big lead over Purdue, Ole Miss, Kentucky, and Colorado State is what it's looked like. I'm just hoping to keep John Allen here. I thought Casey Smith literally would have kept him 93% locked. I should have had him commit, but he didn't. So I gave some more points to, I believe, some offensive linemen here to get some guys going. I don't really like Jonathan McCoy, even though I'm leading him big. He didn't really stand out to me, so that was a big thing. Try to get some more points with my guys and, bring in some of these prospects because we're still looking at our first one, trying to get that. And we'll see how that goes as I try to bring up all the corners near 200 points each. Jamie Stewart, I scout him, and he's looking a little bit better than Andrew Morgan in some regards. I mean, Andrew Morgan downgraded a bit by 1 point, but it didn't matter too much. I'm leading in... Well, I decided, since I was only down 5, I left Morgan out and gave the rest to Jamie Stewart and tried to beat New Mexico State there for that pick. And that's basically it for the recruiting battle. Short episode today. Next game is against FIU. And I don't know, the games just don't seem as fun as they used to. But I'm going to make it do how it's going to work and see what happens. So thanks for watching and see ya.